Oh, I like that.
I know, fancy.
Oh, that's cool. That's, really
That's why
cool.
I'm like, it takes me a second to
Let me
copy
see
in,
if
but
I
it's
can make
totally
now
worth
I want
it.
to put your thing bigger, so I wonder if I can just put it on. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay.
Perfection. So y'all, this is the Clea Llewellyn. We actually rated Clea on Wednesday, kind of in preparation for today. It was perfect timing that you happened to be on at a time you're never on.
Yeah, I know that was, and it was like really late at night for me as well. So I was like, oh my god.
I know, just late
Except
night.
for quietly. Oh my god.
Quietly. Oh my God. Yeah. So y'all, I have so many questions for Clea, honestly, because I discovered you because of Gary. Gary raided you one day, and I've told Gary a million times over, like, he has the best raid targets. I'm always finding incredible people I've never heard of from his raids, and you're one of them, and I'm so grateful.
Oh, thank you so much, Gary.
Yeah. And when we raided, or when he raided you, I was just like blown away. I'm like, I am a fan for life. I love your music, and I had no idea. I went through your bio on clealewellyn.com because
I haven't been there for a little while myself, I do confess.
but it was so enlightening. So I cannot wait to kind of ask you where it all started and everything like that. But first of all, I want to give you the floor and let you say what you want about your musical career, your channel on Twitch. Give a description of your channel and of your music and what you do here on Twitch.
Okay, well, I've joined Twitch in the pandemic. At the end of 2020, I joined, but I had put it on my phone previous to that, like about 4 years before, because my partner, Dragon, he's a drummer and a gamer, and when I met him, he was like fully into gaming and all of this stuff. I didn't really know much about the online world at all, or technology, and I was like I wasn't really into it, to be honest. I was like, I couldn't really use it and found it really frustrating. And he was always just telling me like it would be really cool and stuff. So when everything else fell away, we couldn't gig anymore. You're forced into this different position where it's like, it's literally your work's been taken away. So what do you do? And you've suddenly got this space to think, okay, what can I do now? How can I make this happen? So like I was teaching at the time as well, switched my teaching straight onto Zoom, and it's like started to just get into the technology more. I was songwriting, co-writing with some people as well, and we had to straight away switch to Zoom. So I kind of learned started to learn a few things, and then set out my channel in 2020, and just it's been great. I mean, it's been so awkward. Do you know what I mean? I'm just feel so awkward so much of the time, and when I look back on my sort of videos and stuff, it's just, oh man, times when I've had sugar, or times when I've like broken my shoulder, or it's like what you were saying earlier, like that people are there for you, but the good times and the bad times. And for me, I think it was something that helped me to commit and learn about commitment in a way that I was able to evade before in my life. Do you know what I mean? It was like
evade. I like the word, the use of that word.
But this, you have to be committed and consistent, and like I'm still struggling with the consistent thing. It's like it's such a challenge, the whole thing. And mainly for me, it's been a challenge because I decided to use this time mainly for creative learning and play, and allowing myself to delve into this world of technology in my own way. And I use Twitch to motivate me to do that, and it really has. So even though I could have done things a different way and really solidly focused on viewer count and money, basically, which is it obviously a massive draw as well for the reason you're wanting to do it, because I mean, so it's had its ups and downs, but it's been amazing.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing is you mentioned like you want to concentrate on certain things, and then Gary also said you get to treat it like a playground, like reiterating what you said. And like I always wanted to be a looper, or to have a looper, you know what I mean? Same difference. And this gave me the the reason, the validation to finally purchase a looping machine, a loop station.
Right.
And I know, oh, thank you so much for your follow. I'm not, how do I say that? Astrolivical, I think. Thank you so much for your follow. And I know that you got the same looper I did at some point.
And the same laptop stand, Erin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Because you recommended it to me. I was like, what? How are you holding it up like that?
I forgot about that. Yeah, I was like, it's totally just a laptop stand. Yeah. Here's the link. But you have a better setup now. You have it layered and shit.
Yeah, I still don't feel... I feel like it's going to change again, but I am... Basically, I'm trying to get to the point where I'm just fully confident to record myself. So that's been like a block that I've had as a musician, I would say. I've always been like a live musician and happy to be a live musician. I didn't actually, I don't know what it was, but like working in the studio, it's the perfectionism, it brings out all this other stuff, and it's like, it's quite a different path, isn't it? When you're trying to be a recording artist, it's actually, you know, and so that's now like what I'm like, this was kind of to lead me into using Logic and stuff, because I just didn't really, I don't, you know, using a computer program, it's like, and like, you don't know what you're doing. And, it, you know, it's just not, it wasn't my thing. And I couldn't make it my thing. And I really needed to, because I also had major trust issues and I didn't want to work with anyone. So I always found myself between like, what are you going to do? You have to grow, you have to learn and embrace it. And that was it. And this looper has been, I mean, I tell people who don't even play music to get one.
Really?
Because it's just so much fun. I mean, you can just make any sounds on it and just like suddenly you're making a song, you know?
That's true. That's true. My first ever loop is just noises. I mean, to be fair, it was an accident, but it's just noises, and I kept it because it actually somehow made some sort of weird melody. So I guess I understand. It never really occurred to me, but yeah, that's funny. But it's interesting that you say like you had to learn production, and with streaming, that's something that nobody knows how to do. Who knows how to run an OBS type of software unless you've worked in TV? Maybe you've worked in like broadcasting. So on top of having to learn an OBS and learn Logic, so you said you're using Logic as a DAW.
Yeah, and like you say with the streaming thing, not only are you learning how to broadcast, you're also learning to be a broadcaster at the same time. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's literally ridiculous, the amount of stuff that you're like trying to juggle and learn. Like, and for me, I find I just get to these different plateaus where it's like, okay, I've reached this plateau now, I'm just going to stay here for a bit and concentrate on the music again. Because then to throw yourself into learning that next thing on OBS or whatever, it's just like a whole thing you have to go into. With Logic, I've started using Logic with the looper. So the way I'm working at the moment, I'm getting like drum loops off of Logic, for example, and then putting that back into the looper. And then getting my bass and putting that back into the looper. So I've never really worked with a MIDI instrument even before. So it's literally the last year that I've been kind of working in this way. And people have started calling me a producer since I've been on Twitch. And I was like, what? And even calling me a multi-instrumentalist. And I was like, what are you talking about? Because I'd only ever seen myself as a singer-guitarist. I was so caught up in that identity that it was very strange that other people saw things in me before I could even see them, if you know what I mean. I didn't realize. I didn't realize. So I feel like I'm at the beginning of like a really fun adventure.
I wholeheartedly agree. That's one of the reasons I wanted. So I reached out to you about being on a Friday chat. Like, I don't know. You were in like the first wave of people I reached out to, but the timing didn't work out, and it was what it was. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, is because I noticed like your career has been like cross genre. That's something I literally wrote down in all caps. Like, there have been so many collaborations, and then your music is a different genre, and just you were, even though you identified as a singer-songwriter, I sing and I play guitar, your abilities kind of just go so much further out. You were just so versatile, and I am just in awe of that. And then the way you stream, you also are able to pull in guitar, and then you're using MIDI, like you said. And it's just so much fun to watch you. And then sometimes you just sit there, sing, and play guitar, and it's equally as powerful. And I'm like, fuck you. It's beautiful. Like I love it. I love it so much. I love your style. And I think you're the first person I've really had on who really, really has this crazy songwriting background. Like, that's one of the things I really wanted to dig in on. Other than Twitch, like, I would love to know when did you start songwriting? How did your path on music begin? How, like, what age were you? I just want to know all the things. That's honest to goodness. I just want to know all the things.
So probably the first answer that will make sense then about like why I can do things is because I come from a musical family, and I think sometimes I forget that, but it's like now I've got kids of my own, and I'm seeing them growing up around music as if it's just second nature. You know, it's like air. It's like it's every day, and that's what I had in my house. My dad was a guitarist. I had 3 older brothers. Mum and dad separated. Dad went and moved into 5 hours away. So we would spend, when we did see him, we would spend like a few weeks there in his like front room. He had the music equipment set up all the time, so all plugged in, drum kit, everything was set there. I think that's why he went there, because it's in the countryside and it was a big house. And that dream that you have of like, you know, not having any neighbors and you can just play music all the time. But I was too young really to join in. So that then sent me on a different path really, because I got really, and also being, I don't want to go into like this, I'm going into the too much detail probably, but
there's no too much here, Clea, I
just
promise.
Like, you know,
no too
all
much.
the boys, and it's like the girl, you know, you're a girl, like blah, 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 like, had that kind of attitude there. And then I had like from my mum, it was like, unless you can make money at it, don't bother talking to me about it, sort of thing. So, oh, your dad was into music, and how annoying it was to live with a musician, and like, you know, they always need that next bit of equipment. And you know, because from age of 11 I started writing songs. And
11, oh my gosh.
From 11 I started writing songs, and I feel like that was separate to my family, and that was just something that I liked, writing poetry, and it turned into songs, and I could hear melodies. And then when I was 13, then I got bought a bass guitar, because obviously drums were taken, guitar was taken, and so you can have a bass guitar. So I got this Red Marlin bass, which I really enjoyed, and I learned like some Metallica and Pink Floyd. And then I was like, I need to play guitar because I've got these songs, and I want to just write the songs. And it was weird, because it was almost like my brothers and that were annoyed at first, because it's like, no, you're stepping into our territory, like get out. And I was like, well, sorry guys, but I've got to write these songs. And so I bought a £5 guitar off of one of my brother's friends, and that was it. It was just like, once I had that guitar in my hands, that was it. I mean, because you only need 1 chord and you can write a song. Got 2 chords, wow, you know,
true,
got a fucking smash hit or something. Sorry about swearing.
You think I fucking care? No. Absolutely fucking not. I don't. So you said you started songwriting. It started as poetry. Obviously you needed a guitar. Side note, we both started with bass, which is awesome.
Oh, cool.
I started on bass and then gravitated toward guitar for the same exact reason. You can write music on bass, but it's not the same. You can't really get that full structure of chords.
Right.
But it's just a side note. That's amazing. We actually both started on bass and then moved from there.
I still love the bass. I would love to be a good, like, I would, you know, but yeah, it's a different thing, isn't it? Entirely.
Yeah, it does. Obviously the knowledge translates, but so I started bass because my middle school jazz band needed a bass player. And I don't know if my parents lurk and are in the chat a lot. I don't know if they're here at this moment, but at some point it was like, well, do you want to do that? Is that something you want to do, kind of thing? And I was like, sure, why not? So bass just happened.
You just went and tried it, kind of just, yeah.
Yeah, and because I also have a musical family, so there was a bass that I could borrow. It wasn't like, oh, now my parents have to commit to buying another instrument. There was other musical family members, and so we could just, you know, borrow one. So when do you remember when you like first wrote your first song?
Yeah, I know how it goes. It was A minor and E,
I'm sorry.
I've still got the whole box just down there. It's just sitting down there.
That's amazing. You said A minor in E.
That's it. Just 2 chords.
That's
and
funny.
It was like staring at the moon and it is midnight, like something like that. Just like, you know, yeah, I loved it. I mean, I just love writing songs, and that's all I do. I just do it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, when I've got the time to do it, that's what I would be doing. Like when I was, you know, when my kids were small, of an evening, as soon as they were in bed, it's like, I'm not going to just be sitting there watching TV. It's like, no, I've got some songs that need writing. You can feel them in you. And it's like, you just want to go get the guitar. And back then I wasn't working with any tech, so I would just spend hours on one song, you know, for a whole week or something. You'd just be digging, crafting, trying to get it to sound as good as you can. And it's a different way of working like that as well, because I wasn't going straight to I previously had experience where I was working where straight away we were going to record, and I wasn't used to that process where you've written the song, there it is, the ink's not even dry, and then you're recording it. And it was such a weird way of working when you're used to working, like I was used to having a song going out into a pub. Yes. And like the song's half written, and here we go, like okay, yeah. You can kind of shape it as you're there, because you can feel what the audience, you're watching them, so you're learning that craft in front of people, and that's exciting. I mean, that is, I think that's why I like the improv music now, because that's way more like that level of excitement of like, you know, some magic can happen.
And that's one of the things I don't see a lot of people doing improv just for the sake of improv, because you can. And the fact that you're writing constantly, like the gears are just constantly turning. I don't have that particular gift. Like I write like 2 songs a year. Like, and I think I've already written 2 this year, so I don't know if I'll get another one. I just don't have that constant, I don't know. It's just this, I don't have that dialogue. It's just not, it's just not a part of who I am. I have to collab with people. It's other people's riffs that'll be like, oh, I know exactly what to write on top of that. Like, it doesn't always come from me, but that's something I so much admire about you, is like you just said, you're just like, I got to get this out. And
yeah, I think it's part of how I process the world, really. I think it's how I process my feelings. It's how I process the day. I start to get a little bit angsty if I don't do it. You know, and if I don't play music or sing, if I don't do that, I do start to get a little bit annoyed in general.
And I'm the same exact way. If I don't have the outlet, I have to get it out. I absolutely am the same way, which honestly, I wanted to talk to you about, and obviously you know this, is like Twitch, how it kind of, it's molded a lot of musicians into a different type of authenticity, if you will call it that. You know what I mean? And like how it has affected our ability to songwrite, and for the better, for the worse. And so obviously we joined Twitch basically at the same time for the same reason. All the gigs were gone, and we now have to figure it out. You were just kind of left to figure it the fuck out. And if you did, you did. And if you didn't, you know, it took you a minute. And so my question to you is how has streaming really affected you mentally in a positive way after all the gigs were canceled and kind of moving toward Twitch?
Oh, it's how it's affected me in a positive way is, I mean, it was unknown to me, the positive effect that it would have. I did not understand the level of impact it would have on me. And positive is like, you know, well, it's 100 on its own anyway, and then you've got another pot over there that's like, okay, these are a few like things that I find difficult or gripey or whatever. And generally they're usually to do with me anyway, not even to do with the thing, although there are obviously some things in there that are like annoying. But overall it's just been like, from starting out and just having people wander in going, I remember one stream where I was just sitting there by myself and someone came in and then they went, they wrote in the chat, is it okay for me to be in here? And I was just like, that's how awkward it was, right? Because it was just like me and them, and I was just like, yeah, like, you know, just like, fuck, this is so awkward. And just learning how to you know, just the whole thing, that learning about community, I didn't, you know, community is, it's a great word, fine, what does it really mean? Like I'd learned that in my neighborhood, you know, I joined the local Facebook page, blah blah. I've learned about community in that way, but how did I learn about that online? How did I figure out what that is? And that's an ongoing process as well. But it's like, just, I feel just really lucky to have people around me that are just accepting me how I am, and loving me for who I am. And um you know, I don't know, I just hated on myself so much before. Like, do you know what I mean?
The
That's the
imposter
truth of it.
syndrome.
Pardon?
The imposter syndrome.
Yeah, just like, just, you know, it's, you've got this self-doubt all the time, and it's like I'd already sort of been sort of, you know, learning and trying to learn how to navigate with that. But yeah, just, I don't know, it's being, having financial support from people, absolutely incredible. You know, just them turning up and just supporting you at the right moment. It's the fact that people from my channel are here tonight, and they're like, well, what do you think would be, you know, of course we're going to be there,
Yeah.
type thing. And like, just that anytime I'm sort of like doubting or something, they're there. And I just couldn't find that before. I was like, I was building, like I had a page on Facebook, and I was trying, and I was live streaming on Facebook before, actually. I did,
Oh, okay.
through the pandemic, you know, have a little drink on a Sunday and play some music or whatever. But it was just got silly, because I was just ending up like literally being really silly and getting drunk. And it was like, this is not healthy. We have to stop this. Do you know? And especially because it was during the pandemic, and it was just such a strange time. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been just, there's other things as well, but like, just being able to work in this way has made me feel safer. So I think some of the issues I started to have a problem playing live, that I didn't like it anymore. I didn't like getting attention as a female. I didn't
Yeah.
like lots of things about it, and I found it very difficult to handle, and I've had to handle it. I know you've done, I looked at your Patreon and stuff, and I know that you've done a lot of the same work that I've done. So I don't need to explain it to you, like what it can be like out there.
Yeah.
And I just fucking hated it. Like, and I've been playing live since I was 14. So I
Oh my
mean,
gosh.
you know, I've paid my dues. Like, in that way, I've done a long time on that circuit, you know.
Yeah.
And so I didn't work for 1 year when my first child was born. But then since then, I have carried on working anyway, because I was like so afraid that first year I took off. I was like, oh my God, like I'm never going to get a gig again or whatever. But I did still get gigs, so it was okay. And then you just sort of trying to navigate all of that, really.
And I'm sure there's a little bit of imposter with that too, because everybody puts a lot of pressure on women who would like to have a family, but would also like to have a career. You think like, oh God, if I decide to have this kid and that's the direction that my family goes, what's going to happen to my music career? And that's really fucking unfair. You know, like that's going to happen forever, unfortunately. And so the fact that you were kind of proven wrong is the best thing, that you started to get the gigs again. And also, I want to say thank you to Musling Diva before I forget, because they just dropped a 10 bomb on me, a 10 sub bomb in that chat. Holy cow. Thank you so much. I see you. And Felis, also thank you for your sub a little bit ago as well. I did not miss it, but also it's kind of hard to have a cohesive conversation and break for chat all the time. So I see you. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you. Oh, Ethan got a sub. Anyway, so you continued on the pub circuit. That's pretty wild. Like you mentioned the positivity. Like, it's one thing to get paid $100 to go play at the pub. We've all done that for years, and then it's another thing to make your own rules on Twitch and say whatever the hell you want, play whatever the hell you want, and still maybe make a couple bucks doing it. I think that is something that was so profound to me. And I think I even put that in the essay that I was talking about earlier. It's profound that people just want to support you.
Yeah, it blows your mind. It's just, you're sitting there, and also when I watch it in other people's streams as well, it's just like, it's so much fun to watch it happening, you know. And you're picking up that vibe when you sort of go around and looking into different streamers and what's happening in their communities. And yeah, I mean, people are amazing. I think that's what I've found really on Twitch, is that it's just so nice. I've barely had anything, like even in chat I've had like only a couple of people that I've had to kick out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just people have been just so lovely.
Yeah. We've had our fair share of people we've had to kick out. um, we've had like the follow bot thing happen. I don't want to speak it into existence on accident. It's happened a couple times where it's like 7,000 follows all at once. It's
Oh no.
it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. That kind of shit is like the most annoying. But that kind of leads me into my question about the negative side of Twitch, honestly. So what have you found like, and this can be any sort of thing, and not necessarily mental health, but what have you noticed negatively since you've started streaming on Twitch?
Sort of the negative impact on my life.
Yeah.
um I would say it takes a lot of time, and I would say that that's been the most negative impact, that it's to really be a success at it, it
Mm-hmm.
takes a hell of a lot of time and effort, knowledge, skills, so much. You know, I mean, thanks for saying I was versatile earlier in music, but I mean, like, you know, as streaming shit, I mean, that's a whole new level of versatile.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of things to get right, and it it just feels like sometimes I start and I'm just like, ugh, I just can't do the things, you know, and I'm just like, I just can't do it. So I find that is a negative impact on me, just the need to be something, or something that's, you know, constantly improving, because that's the kind of growth mindset that you're trying to be in the whole
Mm-hmm.
time. And it's just, sometimes it's just sheer exhausting.
Yeah.
Like this week, for example, I just haven't really been able to stream
Yeah.
because I've had enough of what I'm doing and I'm annoyed with myself. So I'm just like, well, I'm not streaming this week. It's just not happening. And
Yeah.
you know, you want to be consistent and keep going, and it feels like something that's hard to, especially as a small streamer, it's
Mm-hmm.
very hard to put it down. And like, I remember, because me and Gary started at about the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember him saying to me, oh, like it's such a shame, because I had COVID, and I can't remember what else. I had a few things happen when I first started that meant that I had a few like glitches and breaks, and I've had that a couple of times. I've had to move room, like
Mm-hmm.
life happens and it affects your streams, and
Yeah.
that really affected my numbers and my growth. And when he said that at the time, I didn't really understand it until I came back, and I was like, holy shit, yeah, it's hard, because then you kind of have to build again.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the negative to it, is it's definitely a job. It's definitely like you have to show up
Mm-hmm.
and you know, deliver.
And it's incredibly hard. Like I live in an existence where all of my jobs literally went away. I did start, like,
Mm,
I know you said you were teaching over Zoom as well. I kind of let that go because it Twitch kind of replaced some of my
right.
teaching, but I absolutely was spending 3 days a week doing lessons over the
Yep.
screen.
Yep.
And that, like, take away the streaming aspect. Spending this much time in front of screens has been such an adjustment.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not a people person. I like, though, to be one on one with my students. And I do
Mm,
vocal coaching. And so it's
right.
like, it's so hard to do vocal coaching over
Uh-huh.
over a screen. Like,
Yep.
it's hard to read the body language and everything, and
Right.
it's like a separate exhaustion.
Oh, 100% with you on that.
And then,
I've been
like,
doing the same thing. Like
yeah.
it's, yeah.
Are you still doing digital lessons as well?
Well, like the same as you are. Basically, I had to give them up, but only recently, and I'm not sure yet if I'm going to pick them back up or not. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure. So basically, I had to go online, obviously, and then when a lot of people came back offline, I couldn't, because I changed where this setup was, and it's not. I couldn't
Mm,
teach from home anymore.
gotcha.
So that's been my circumstance, and you know, we're hoping to move and blah blah blah. So it's like, at this point I've just not been able to, so I've carried on teaching up until only actually, because of a family situation, death in the family this year, and that was in June. And so I kind of said in June, I'm not going to do this last term, and now it's summer holidays, and so I might pick it up in October. But it was like, that's 3 years or something online, and like you say, with the vocal coaching, it was so hard. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I picked up new students as well. I was really proud of myself that I managed to actually keep it going and get new students and keep them. That felt like such an achievement because, like you say, we're working online. You can't even physically like touch the person or adjust them or say like feel this or anything. It's just so much easier in person. And but also when with working with Miri and doing Miri, which has been since last November, so the last sort of 8-9 months, that got to the point where I just couldn't concentrate. I couldn't concentrate on anything else. That took over. So something had to give, and it was the teaching, because Twitch and that can still work together, you know, but it is a challenge when you're trying to record, right?
Yes, it's so frustrating. And so EBX did an entire record over the pandemic, and it was all digital. I never went to the studio once. I had to learn, I almost said Final Cut. No, Pro Tools. I had to learn Pro Tools for the first time since 2010. I learned Pro Tools in 2010. So you better fucking believe it was not the same Pro Tools that I got my hands on now. And it is a challenge. It does take over. And I too kind of fell into the same position. I was doing Twitch 4 days a week for a long time, which is a fucking lot.
Yep.
And I was teaching 3 days a week. And I couldn't handle it. But my brain was like, okay, but you're not working. What else are you going to do? Like, it's like this mind game that the pandemic put us in. Like, well, you're not working. What else are you supposed to be doing? And I fell into that dangerous mindset of, well, why should you rest? You're literally not working. And so it kind of led to burnout, and I had to let all of my students go except for one. And luckily I'm not like, I don't teach like at an institution or like a physical place. It's not like connected to anything. It's just me, myself, and I.
Same as,
and so
it makes it easier.
Yeah, it hurt me to tell all of my students that I just can't do this because I enjoy working with everybody. But at the end of the day, I couldn't take care of myself anymore.
Right.
And it was affecting my mental health. And I would tell Trish that I'm dreading these lessons when that's the last thing. I don't want to dread the people I'm helping.
That's exactly where I got to. I was the same as you. I was like, I always knew from a kid, I was like, if you teach, you need to want to teach. And because I was a sort of like student that if I could just smell it out in a teacher and it'd just be like, we're not going to get on. And the reason is because you don't like teaching, you know, because all the good teachers, you knew them, you could tell them by their passion and you could get on with them no matter what they taught. And so I always felt like that was a rule for me, that if I ever taught, it had to be, you know, I really wanted to. And as soon as I got to this point where I couldn't concentrate in the lesson anymore, before I was really good at focusing one-on-one, like you have to be, don't you? And so I was good at that. But as soon as I wasn't good at that anymore, I was like, this is not fair. Yeah. It's not fair on them because I know I'm not giving them my best, and I just didn't feel right doing it.
Yeah. And I'm kind of in the same exact position as you, is I want to pick these people back up and I want to be there for them because they were not entirely happy for me to take the break. But they all, luckily, because of this community that we've built around us, they were all like, oh my God, of course. Like, oh my God, of course, take the time. But I'm like, the problem is I have no idea if I'm ever going to be okay again to do this. And for me, the vocal coaching, I here's the thing. This is going to sound so bad. I'm not a teacher. I've never wanted to be a teacher. But what happened was, at the studio I've worked at for many years now, like my home-based studio with EBX, I ended up being a vocal coach on many, many, many other people's projects. Right. And so why did my pretzel player just start randomly playing music? Do you hear the music? Stop it. Why? Good. It like hurted me like doing a sob story or something. What the hell? That was so weird. Okay, anyway. I don't know what just happened. But I ended up being a vocal coach because the people that were coming to the studio needed a vocal coach for their vocals on their records. And so it slowly became like the engineers at the studio would be like, oh, well, I know a good vocal coach. Maybe she'll do lessons with you. And then I had like 15 students and 3 different days that were dedicated to doing lessons. And it was just like, oh my gosh. And I didn't even... it was wild.
So you stumbled into it, basically. You didn't mean to make that move, but it happened.
It happened, and I took it, and I needed the money, because of course you do. As a musician, of course, take the money. And,
totally.
And I had fantastic musicians of of every age, like that went from 10 years old to 50 years old. Like it was great. And then a pandemic
It's an
happened.
amazing job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
it is. I love it as well.
Yeah, and the vocal coaching for me, it's my heart lies in helping you put down the best vocals for your record. Right. So what I just discovered about myself was that if the lesson had no point, it was very hard for me to stay committed and focused.
Yeah.
And it's like there's nothing against any of the people that I was working with. Some of them are probably listening right now, actually. It's just for me, my own like burnout issues. And again, I have one student right now. That's it. And we're recording a record and in the process of that. And it's just incredibly taxing. And being in front of these screens, I was in front of the screen 7 days a week. And now on the days I don't stream, I'm not even in this room. Like it's like a boundary I've had to set for myself.
Totally.
And it's it's wild.
It's a lot. I mean, it's so much. And now like with releasing music, I haven't released music in a long time. Done this process, like the distribution, the socials, the Spotify, like the artwork, there's so much to do all the time, so many people to contact, and that in itself, I really don't think people understand it. And it's and why should they understand it? I don't necessarily understand what they do at their job, but there is still that idea that like as an artist you're not really doing anything, when it's like you're literally doing fucking everything.
Yeah.
It's like,
yep.
And so tell me, how did Miri happen? What was the conception of that? So we played, if y'all were here, I don't remember what day it was. You rated one day. We played your new song, Bad Bitch, and it is a fucking jam.
Thank you.
And like normally I don't do that because I don't like people will come in and be like, play this.
Same, Erin. And that's why I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, because my, friends that were coming in, they were like, oh, play it. Because it was the party. We just released it that day.
Yeah.
And we'd had this little like party over at mine. And then it was like, right, let's go. I said, I just definitely want to go and raid, female empowerment. Let's go and raid Erin. So we came in and then they were like, oh, play the tune. I was like, oh my God, that's awkward. Don't ask her. Because like, the same as me, it would be like, you have people coming in like, oh, can you play my tune? It's like, dude, like, at least say hello first. Do you know what I mean?
But also then somebody was like, play Bad Bitch. And I'm like, hold on, it's called Bad Bitch. That was the turning point.
Yeah.
That it's called Bad Bitch. And so I adore the production on it. I listened to it in the car one day on repeat for like at least 20 minutes.
Oh, nice.
It's just a song you can literally listen to on repeat. And for those of you looking for it, it's Bad Bitch, but there's an X in the where the I should be in bitch.
Yeah.
So tell me about
the production just comes, it has this journey, doesn't it? The song and the production has this like, journey, which I know, I love the way it's been produced as well. It sounds so cool.
And you also
something,
don't even realize it started over again because of the way the beginning starts. It's like this endless loop, which that adds to the production hugely. But tell me about the conception of Miri. What's going on with that?
Well, we met on Twitch and I wasn't really looking to collaborate at the time. And actually we just met as friends. It wasn't like they were asking me to collaborate in the beginning. We were just like meeting, say, once a month and having like a conversation about Twitch and different things and music and just general, like just slowly getting to know each other. And we just found we had a lot in common, a lot of shared experiences as well, shared kind of outlook on music and what we want from it, and the music industry and everything. And then I had this loop, but Bad Bitch was the first loop that I had made on this that I wanted to send over to Offshore. So I sent them that and got the demo back, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh my God, that's so good. And then I sent the next one, another loop, and then so that's like only sort of, I don't know, like a short, like a chorus long or something, like a little, not much.
Yeah.
And half of it you can't even use anyway. So you're just really like squeezing the juice out of what it is. And by the time I heard the second one, I was just like, I was dancing around my kitchen. I was like, this is a jam. I was like, And that song comes out on the 23rd of this month, actually. So quite excited about that. And if you can sub to us on YouTube, please sub to us on YouTube.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
to make sure I say that.
Is the
because
YouTube link on Miri.com? Is it available there?
I think everything should be on there. And I think we do have a link tree as well.
Okay. Because I put Miri.com in your chat command. So if somebody does command chat,
thanks.
it's in there. So that's why I was saying if it's easily accessible.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It should be. But yeah, so we just found that we could really easily write songs together, not just easily, but like just some magic was happening. And I mean, I think when you have a connection like that, they don't come around that often.
No.
So I wasn't expecting it. And it's just been, I wasn't expecting it at all, because I had my head in this stuff here. And to release music again has just been, I can't even tell you what it's been like, because I would have to get into like so much trauma that I've been experienced and all of this stuff. So, but it's been very, very healing for us both in this, online sort of friendship that we've been working over Zoom. I mean, and we've got an album's worth of material. So we're just continuing to put the work in, and we're building in the, hopefully we'll get the chance to play on stage together, and, the dream will happen. It's a dream, but we're working hard for it.
And I mean, honestly, it's so Clea mentioned Offshore is the person that is the collaborative effort of Miri. Am I allowed to say the person's name in case anybody knows who it is, or are they only going by Offshore?
I think that Offshore is best.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Got it. So if anybody's looking for the tea on that, let me know, in case you're like, my brain just broke and I don't know what you're talking about. But I'm very interested to see what y'all do, because you guys have some time zones going on as well, right?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
Are they still in California?
That's right. They're in California. So, I mean, it's like we generally start communicating at around like 12 or 1 my time. Mm-hmm. Because lucky they're a morning person.
Yeah.
So it works out quite well because they're up quite early. So we can start around 12:01. We do a little bit just, on Discord, just what have we got to do, like different jobs or whatever it is we're communicating about. And then, but generally at the moment we've finished that recording stint at the moment. So we're not really doing that. We've got loads of admin stuff to do.
Yeah.
But before we were kind of zooming, at first it was kind of late. It was like 8 o'clock my time. So I was ending up going quite late.
Yeah.
So in the end we shifted it earlier. So it was like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock my time. Mm-hmm. And then I'd be working till maybe, to 8, 9 o'clock. But that's hard because I've got kids as well. So again, the time zones, honestly, they've been really challenging, but I'm proud of us for what we've done. I really am proud.
Even one time zone away is hard sometimes. Let alone Pacific to BST. That is wild. Like we're, I think, 5 hours apart, 5 or 6 hours, and so like that's another 3 hours on top of that. That's absolutely wild that y'all are so committed to making it happen. And like you mentioned, when something like that, when there is chemistry in songwriting and collaboration, you have to move on it, because
you have to.
You don't know if it's ever going to happen again.
I mean, I had to explain to quite a few friends and people, just, I'm sorry, like I am not available right now and please forgive me, kind of thing. Because also we weren't telling anyone.
Yeah.
So it's like, we were waiting for the release, and it was like, then we're going to tell everyone and we can start talking about it. So, and I really enjoyed that, because I'd never had anything like that was just like protected and nice, and I could get used to it. And, because coming out with a song like Bad Bitch, like a lot of people that know me, just like acoustic guitar, sings a nice song type thing. It's not, they're not expecting me to come out with something like Bad Bitch.
But also, upon me digging through like all the collaborative things you've written on, I totally understand where Bad Bitch came from now. Because like I went back and listened to some of the Joe Wobble stuff, some of the Mooley stuff, some of the London Sky stuff, some of the Fish from Japan stuff. I literally sat here going through all the things that are mentioned on your website, all the collaborative songwriting things. And I'm like, oh my God, like you're even more versatile than I realized somehow.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
If anybody wants, all those name drops are on Clea's website. Like I literally just went through the bio and like went and listened to all the stuff. And so one of my other questions was that in your bio you talked about touring the U.S. and Canada and Europe, and that you did that for like almost a decade. And what that experience was like. Just, I don't even know where to begin. I've only toured the U.S. in like a couple weeks at a time, you know, but that's huge to do across the world like that.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It was amazing. It was like, I'm so happy that I got to do, you know, I had kids when I was 28. So I was playing live from 14. And then it was in my early 20s when I got the job with Jar Wobble, and that was where I got to travel the world really with him. And it was amazing. It was just it was a real like chance to experience what I had pictured as the dream, you know. Obviously you want to do it under your own name and feel what that's like, and so hopefully I hope I get a little like chance at that as well. But touring in his band was such I'm so grateful for that experience because of all the places I got to see, but the musicians I got to work with, because he's the kind of person who changes his band and reinvents himself. So I was in 3 different lineups in that time, 4 different lineups in that time. So you know, it was a folk band when I joined, the English Roots band. And then it became Chinese dub orchestra, Chinese dub orchestra, or something like that. Then it was a Nippon dub experience. So that worked with Chinese musicians, Japanese musicians, and then it turned into more of like a jazz sort of thing at the end. So the level of musicianship and like that I got to be around, like a self-taught musician, so like, you know, self-taught singer as well. Like, I mean, back then I can definitely know 100% I wasn't as good a singer. I hadn't there were so many things I did not know. I'm amazed that I got the job. So no. So it's like, do you know what I mean? I was really like blagging it, always just a total blag artist, always have been. So it was like, it wasn't really till I started teaching that I started really learning, this, that, and the other. I was like, oh, okay. And then it made me a better singer. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I mean, tour in America was, you know, and Canada, that was amazing. That was a 10-day tour. And yeah, it was unforgettable. I mean, you know, New York, I mean, over to San Francisco.
I've never been to New York or San Francisco.
The Troubadour Club in LA. It was like, it was absolutely crazy. We had in that gig there, we had Anthony Kiedis. We met, obviously doing those gigs, met quite a, you know, there would be times when someone like famous or whatever would be backstage at one of these festivals, and someone in the band would be like, oh my God, like this, so-and-so. And a lot of the time I wouldn't really know who they were. So the one that was it for me, that was like someone really famous, was Anthony Kiedis. And that was when we was in LA, and he like phoned into the radio show. We were singing. I was there about to sing live, and he phoned in. Can you imagine? I like literally collapsed onto the floor. Like, I was just like, oh my God.
No.
I slumped onto the floor, and Jar Wobble was he's from East London. He's from like he's quite tough. He's like 6 foot something, and like he's, you know, real like, and he was like, get on with it, Clea, like this, just like, you know, fucking get the fuck up, we've got a job to do. So I was like, stood up and like sung, like got over it. But he came to the show that night and watched the show, and like I was reading his book. I got him to sign my book. It was like one of these moments in life that was like synchronicity, and just like you feel like you're on the right path. It was like a real massive highlight in my career, I reckon. Just, you know, it was really fun.
It sounds like so much fun. So what was the longest run you went out on?
I actually don't remember. I don't think I was ever away for months. I think they were always like week long, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, possibly a month. I don't actually remember, but yeah, there would usually be sort of like a few week stints type thing. And then I got pregnant towards in 2008, and so then he did ask me back a few years later, which was amazing, because I had kind of thought that was the end of it. So when I got the phone call, he's like, Clea, you know, we've got a tour, come on. I was like, oh my God, let me get on the step machine, like, kind of thing. And you know, my baby was like 15 months old, and it was like,
Wow.
you know, had to finish breastfeeding to like go and do this tour and stuff. And it was like you got all them life decisions to like,
Yeah.
you know, make at the time or whatever it is you're doing, and like leaving your baby, like, you know, like you were saying before, you can't have this idea,
Yeah.
you can't have both, you know. How do you juggle it? And I'm looking at that again because I would like to go on tour next year. You know, I'd love to do that. But I read your thing as well, and it's like you were saying on your Patreon that it's so expensive per
Oh
person
my
to do
God.
it,
Yeah.
that you know, you're kind of, you know, it just feels like such a tough industry, like tougher than ever. It really does.
Yeah, and then, you know, you have to make that choice. Like, we made the choice not to do gigs. We didn't do a gig since March of 2020 until last month. We did our first
Right.
gig since March of 2020 last month.
Whoa.
We're only accepting outdoor gigs right now. So we are not traveling. Like,
Right.
and that is a whole choice in itself. But I'm just not going to risk it. And so right now we're kind of weighing the options of hiring a management company to start actually touring again next spring.
Right.
Because we kind of did the same thing that like you did with Ja, was like you go out a couple weeks at a time. We had an RV for a while. We don't have that RV anymore because when the pandemic hit, it was like why are we like we need to
can't-
sell this? Yeah. So
Yeah.
so we sold the RV. We do got to get another RV, but that's something that people don't really even consider is how do you travel and pay for all this gas and pay for all your food and not go into the red? And the thing about being in any piece band more than one or two people is that these bars don't want to pay you more than a couple $100. So say you're a 6-7 person crew, which we are, there's no money. That just goes right back into the gas tanks.
Exactly.
And
you know,
yeah, and you don't make any money on the road, and you've already taken
you know,
vacation.
You don't have this, you know, you've got your merch, but you can't
Yeah.
sell physical music anymore. So as soon as that thing happened with the physical, and I remember that happened when I was working with Jar Wobble, and he was like, and this was, you know, sort of early 2000s and whenever it was, he was like, the Spotify was starting to happen and this, that, and the other. And I just remember him talking about it and going, oh, this is like,
Yeah.
just look at it as a hobby now. And I'm in my 20s, like looking at him thinking,
Yeah.
what's he saying to me now? What's he saying? Oh, I got to look at it like a hobby. And he was literally standing there saying there ain't going to be any money in it.
Yeah.
You know, I literally saw he done a post the other day saying, oh, we were booked for this festival, but we're not going. He would like make festival promoters, he would make them pay before we went on stage. I've literally seen him like shake someone, like, you know, we're not going on unless you pay us. And I saw him pull out of one just the other day because he hadn't been paid yet. And it's like, sorry, you know, you've got, it's very, very tough. Anyway, it is.
And people just I've talked about it a lot of times because people are like, when are y'all coming to the UK? I'm like, that's that's if we happen to hit the lottery, you know, like the fact that you've been able to cross the pond and tour in another country, let alone another continent, is wild, you know. Like, I can only dream. Like, Canada is about the closest we're going to get to, you know, international. We've played in Canada a couple of times. But to get a whole band across an ocean is astronomical. And you already have people taking time off of their other jobs that they have, their day-to-day jobs. And then they don't want to pay anyway. And we've actually had that happen where we played a gig in Vegas and we got there. Oh, thank you for your follow, Pro Bliss. We played a gig in Vegas and we had an agreement in my email. We get everything in writing because don't trust phone calls. Absolutely not. Get it in writing, either email, text, whatever. And we were told we were getting paid X amount plus sushi because it was a sushi place. I don't make the rules. So they told us they would give us some sushi and pay us like $300, whatever the amount was. And literally we got there and they were like, we didn't tell you that. And I'm like, bullshit, you didn't fucking tell me that. And they're like, well, we didn't tell you that. That's a promoter. We're like, what?
Oh man.
Like, y'all, this shit happens and it's terrible. It's and to the biggest, baddest people, you know, we're kind of nobody in terms of that. But like, in like, how many piece bands were you traveling with? Like, those were big ass bands probably.
Yeah, that was, oh gosh, I guess there was you've got always got jar, you've got the sound man, drums, guitar, me, another singer, and we had a French horn player. And that was that. No, not a French horn player. He was French and he played a bagpipe. That's what I meant to say. Jean Paul. And like, you know what? This was so bad though, because he couldn't get into, he couldn't leave. It was so bad. He couldn't leave Canada.
Oh.
So he had a visa issue and he couldn't leave Canada. So the rest of the tour was America and then back to Canada. The first and last date was Canada. So he didn't get to do the tour and he had to wait. Imagine that. He had to wait in Canada while we went. And like,
wow. And so he's from France.
He was from France and the visa thing hadn't got sorted out properly and he couldn't do it. He couldn't do it. It was so bad.
That sounds dreadful.
It was dreadful, but the worst thing was because he didn't go, that meant we got to play with all these different musicians because there was this like, oh my God. And it's like, it's so, you know.
Yeah, well, it's stressful too. It puts a big stressor. There's enough stressors anyway, and then when you have something unexpected like that, it's like, what? Wait, what?
It's emotional. You've got to leave one person behind. Like, you're leaving them there and you're going to have this amazing time and you're just leaving them.
Ah, that's terrible. Holy cow. We worry about things like that too, though, because we have a dual citizen in our band. Our drummer is dual citizen, US and Canadian. And like, I always get super paranoid about like doing shows in Canada because you can't take any merch, you can't make any money unless you have a work visa. Again, things people don't.
Oh man.
Yeah, so none of us have work visas. We just take a couple CDs and like hope to maybe give them away, you know.
Yeah.
But we don't take any merch because you have to have a work visa to take merch and sell it across the border. And that's another thing people don't realize is that's a whole lot of work. And we have talked about it. We've talked about doing Canadian tours, but just like the word work visa gives me so much anxiety. Like, I don't know anything about the process, but it sounds terrible. And I don't like it. And
no, I don't like it.
And it's the same. It's like we're still in the same continent even, but it's like it's still so stressful. It's yeah. Oh yeah, Bane saying they get upset about people coming over to take their jobs. Yeah, and like we have a Canadian in our band, literally, and we've heard things like that. So it's not surprising. It's stressful. Anyway, I just like gave myself flop sweat thinking about Canadian work visas. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And thank you, Rad Cyclist. And I am looking at all the people in chat, by the way. I'm always paying attention, just, you know, kind of letting the conversation go where it's going. So thank you all.
Rad.
I appreciate you all. And so I know we're coming up on an hour right now. I obviously, you know, want to respect the boundaries, don't want to keep you longer than the hour. I know you said you have another Miri song coming out on the 23rd.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Ah, that's exciting. Can you tell us what it's called?
I actually don't know. I don't know if it's a secret or not, but
give us a hint.
I have a question. Why butter? Why butter is a good hint.
Why butter?
Because the promo for the next song is butter.
The word butter is definitely in there.
Oh,
I think I can tell you that it's called Get Butter. The next one.
Get Butter.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't wait. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I love it.
No, it's a vibe. And tell the joke. Clea, tell the joke. Oh Shay, I told you I'm no good at jokes. Oh, I can't even remember it.
Also,
man.
Ricochet, I've loved your commentary this whole time, by the way. You seem like such a lovely human.
You tell it, Shay. Say it in the chat, please, Shay. Tell them the joke. It was good. It's a proper dad joke.
And it's a proper dad joke. Okay, I understand. Dad jokes are sometimes hard to tell, honestly. Like, you have to really get it totally correct. You can't mess up like one word.
Oh, I'm terrible at telling jokes. I'm really bad at it.
Honestly, I am too. So you know the song, oh my god, you know the song Hey Ya by Outkast?
Yeah.
And the callback part, the what's cooler than being cool, and they say ice cold. Well, I used to do that song with an acoustic group, And it's like you fuck up the punchline. I was like, what's cooler than being ice cold? And my guitar player, who is still my guitar player in EBX, was like, he like stopped playing and was like, nothing? I don't know what to say. So that's how good I am.
That's the sort of thing I would do as well.
Yeah. What's cooler than being ice cold? Nothing. I don't know. But what I was gonna say was, so obviously Miri has a new song coming out on the 23rd. Is there anything else you want to promo? Because obviously we have your follow button. If y'all fell in love with Clea the way I did, like, I don't know, 2 years ago, please smash the crap out of that Twitch follow button. But is there anything else you want to promo, Clea?
It's probably just that song, and just maybe my Twitch channel, just like and maybe my YouTube channel as well. But yeah, mainly I just want you to follow Miri, because I just feel like Miri is where it's at for me at the moment. But yeah, my Twitch channel, you know, that would be great if anyone wants to, you know, wants to come and hang out on there. And you know, I'm like, I love doing, you know, improv music over there. So if you like that kind of thing, you'd probably like the channel. But I'm always open to the song requests as well. But sometimes a bit awkward, I think.
I don't know. I think that you feel more awkward than you come off. I've
cool.
never really, I have been in some awkward people's streams, and I think that it feels worse for you than it really is on the other end.
Can you come and get me next time you're in someone's awkward so I can see? Also, yes. I really love that. So I can just compare and learn like the difference of like levels of awkwardness.
I'll text you. Just be like, hey, here's a good example. Just come here. Don't say anything. Just come here.
And also, I just wanted to say thanks for that recommendation for the thing on Netflix, because I've been binge watching that. I'm on episode 6 now. The Sandman is so good. Oh my God.
We both gasped at the same exact time. I think you've passed me, though. We haven't made it to episode 6 yet, have we?
We're on episode 6 now.
Okay,
I think I'm just starting episode 6 as well. I think we're going to do that one today, because I've been sort of trying to watch it and falling asleep, and then one of my kids went out today, so I was able to watch it in the daytime. I was like, come on, quick, let's go put it on.
Yeah,
it's so good,
because it's really inappropriate for kids.
Oh yeah, at first we were like, why is this an 18? Like, it should just be a 15. It's not that bad. And then we're like, oh, okay.
You get to episode 5 and you go, oh,
definitely an 18.
Listen, so I was, when we were in Clea's chat the other day, I was like, oh, you need something on Netflix to watch? Go watch The Sandman. Also, it's very, very adult. It is super not for kids. The funny part about that, since we're talking about it very quickly, I watched a Korean horror film that was kind of fucked up. It's called Gonjaim, and it was very good if y'all are into found footage and grave encounters and Hell House. Gonjaim, it was very good. Okay. And I was like, I need a palate cleanser. I need something that's like just an hour before bed. I can't go to bed with this in my head. And then we watched The Sandman episode 5. And I was like, well, that was a cosmic fucking joke. That was the work. What palate cleanser? That was terrible. It was awful. I mean, the show is very good, but it was almost as heavy as the movie I watched prior. So
do you get freaked out when you're watching movies? Do you like, or do you?
It depends. I wasn't freaked. Okay, put it this way. I very rarely will be so stressed out that I'm like, I'm gonna watch this through my fingers. Like, okay, I'm gonna like. It was so good at building tension, this movie, that I was like watching the end bit through my hands. Like,
wow.
And I'm not like that normally. I watch a whole lot of horror, and even Trish was like, if this is getting you that badly, I'm not even gonna look at the screen.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I wouldn't be able to handle that. I'm the sort of person that reacts like I've ended up like punching by accident, because you're just like, you're just freaking out. So I probably would freak out too much. I will watch it, but only in the right mood, if I'm okay to get like that hyped up.
Yeah. Yeah, The Sandman is heavy. I'm very excited to continue watching it. So it's so funny that we're in the same exact spot.
Yeah, that's good.
We have to communicate about that because we can't pass each other. No, I'm just
no,
kidding.
that's it now. We need to watch the end together.
It's true.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No, it is, honestly, it's brilliant. I'm so glad you said it. 'Cause I needed something fantasy to watch, like, so badly, and nothing was really doing it. I was just like, I couldn't focus on anything, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
So this was exactly what I needed. I was like, oh, this is good.
It's immersive. Its atmosphere is immersive, and I think that that's what does it for me, because I'm not super into fantasy. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not picky about horror, but I'm very picky about fantasy and sci-fi. Right. So this is like itching a dark fantasy kind of horrific scratch or itch. Whatever word. So it definitely is something that's on like the borderline of something I would like, but oh my God, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. I can't recommend it more for everybody in the chat. However, I would say not for kids under 18. Maybe a 17-year-old if they're wise beyond their years, maybe, but it's pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy stuff. But again, we've gone past an hour. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but I want to let you go.
It's really nice talking to you as well.
Yes, it's been.
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Of course. I'm just so glad it finally happened. I'm just very glad. And I had a lot of anxiety hitting go live today for a lot of reasons, and it's the first.
What to do with hitting partner and stuff, or
it never occurred to me that it was gonna happen now, and
that's amazing.
Thank you. And I just
want to say to you as well, like I was really glad that I watched what you were saying earlier and got to hear and how open you were about it. Like it was really amazing to be able to get that insight into your experience, and I just think it's so cool that you've got it.
Oh, thank you. I still think that I'm just gonna wake up and it's gonna go away. Like it's just not going to be there anymore. Like, is it real?
They can't do that, can they? They I don't know, but
no, you have to like breach the contract. Like it's not right. Yeah. It's not like oops, you did like, that would be terrible. You just wake up and it's gone one day. Yeah. Oh my God.
I know, but I'm like you. I'm like, is it for real? Like, is it going to last? You know, it's hard to,
It is. It's the imposter syndrome that I never really realized I was going to experience. But today I woke up and I was like, is it still there? Really? Like. I don't know. So, and then, like I said, people I've never talked to in real time. Like,
right.
We're still not in real life, but in real time.
I know what you mean. Yeah.
And so I always have some sort of amount of anxiety coming into that because I don't know. I just get excited to finally talk to somebody that inspires me. So. That's
Same as I get hyped up about it, and then of course I got the time wrong, so I was like hyped up an hour before, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do?
I'm so sorry. Time zones are hard.
It's not your fault. It was me. It was totally me.
And like the daylight savings time in the U.S. versus the British summertime, like it's complicated. Time zones are time zoney. But I'm gonna let you go. I hope you have a really lovely evening, and thank you for being here.
You. Thanks so much for having me, and enjoy the rest of your stream. I'll be watching.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We'll be talking soon.
See ya. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.